Hi, I'm Gareth. I'm the operations manager at the directory. Is the microphone working? It's not quite working yet. Hang on. Now it is. Is that better? Perfect. And I just want to give a bit of background as to why we set up the PIP program. About 2 years ago, I started the directory and I realized that we were taking a lot of calls, and I wanted to find out what the calls were all about. So we started to...
How do you do it?
Next one.
How do you move it?
It's switched off, lift it on the side. I'll see the back.
You tell this first time we've done this.
So we started to log the calls and find out exactly what was happening. And we found that in the last 12 months, we've had over 1,500 engagements with the public. The majority of the public are looking for support. So off the back of that, we've set up 2 support groups. One group runs weekly from our offices and supports around 15 people. And we've got another group which runs in Pontypridd, which supports another 10 to 12 people. We're looking to set up hubs now in Bridgend, Merthyr, Caerphilly, Newport, so we can start to spread our services across, because a lot of autistic adults were telling us that that's what they needed. Employment was another one. We've just worked with over 150 autistic adults in Rhondda Cynon Taf, delivering employment programs. Around 20% of those actually moved into employment following that, which we're extremely proud of. And we've just got contracts to go and work in Newport, Cumbraon, Chepstow, Pontypool. So we're working about 17 different job centres across South Wales. We've just started that, so we'll see another 240 autistic adults, and that's in full swing at the moment. And then benefits. A lot of people were asking for help with benefits, and we found PIP was one of the main areas that people needed support with, and that's why we developed the service. So I'll hand over to Suzanne now to talk about the personal independence payments. Okay, Suzanne.
Can I have that? Thanks. How do I use it? So, personal independent payment. What is personal independence payments? So, disability living allowance has been replaced. So, the DLA award benefit has been replaced by PIP for those who are aged 16 to 64. Children who are already in receipt of DLA and about to turn 16 would gradually be reassessed for PIP. Personal independent payment is a new benefit for people who need help taking part in everyday life. Oh, there you go. The PIP assessment, so it's set up to test your ability to participate in a certain number of daily activities. The number of points you score will determine whether you're entitled to either components. So there's 2 components, there's mobility and daily living. You can qualify for either or both components, and each one will be paid at a different rate. So some are awarded at standard rate and some will be awarded at enhanced rate, depending on the points you score for each activity. So the 10 daily living activities are preparing food, taking nutrition, managing therapy or monitoring a health condition, washing and bathing, toilet needs or incontinence, dressing and undressing, communicating verbally, reading and understanding signs and symbols, engaging with people face to face, and making financial budgeting decisions. Under the mobility component then, you have planning and following a journey and moving around. So that's what you're tested on, really, all of those different components. So the first step, what do you do? So the first step is to phone PIP or the DWP, and the number is here. If you need any more information, you can come and see me at the stand later and get the information off me there.
We do understand that there's a lot of anxiety around PIP and just making our phone calls difficult. So when you do speak to Suzanne later, we can do that with you. Okay, so that's not a problem, because even for me, it's daunting. I hate calling helplines. So yeah, please give us a shout. Also, Citizens Advice help out as well. The job centres can help. The DEAs, I know in Pontypridd and the surrounding areas are fantastic, so they'll help you out too. But yeah, please ask for that help, okay?
Okay, so step 1. So after you've phoned the DWP, they will send you the paperwork. They will send you the claim form PIP2, and that is how your disability affects you. Now, this paperwork is not really autism friendly at all. It's really complicated and it's really scary, and you wonder how you're going to be able to write all the things you need to write in the right parts. So step 2, you've got to complete the form with lots of supporting evidence. Okay, so doctors' information, any sort of educational psychologist reports, anything you can find that tells them about the difficulties you have, all that evidence is really important to put in. The trouble is, a lot of people don't access their doctors very much. They don't have support in the community of many people. So finding the evidence is really difficult. So that's where that we or another organisation could write reports for you on your difficulties, and that will all be taken as evidence. Okay. Step 3, so you send the paperwork back. The DWP pass the information on to the healthcare professional, so it's usually Capita in Wales, in Cardiff, surrounding areas. They will decide then, they will look at your information and decide if you need to come for an assessment. So if you're invited to an assessment, it will be in Cardiff or Merthyr or Pontypridd. Some are in Newport as well. You will go along to the assessment, and the questions you will be asked are all from the form. So the form you filled in, they will ask you for more evidence and information on each of those questions.
Just briefly, we do suggest you send the forms in recorded delivery, because there have been some occasions where the information hasn't reached them.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for your peace of mind as well, so you can say that, look, I have sent this, it is recorded delivery. It just helps the process, okay?
And take a photocopy of everything as well.
Yes.
You've got to photocopy everything. So step 4, the healthcare professional will then decide if a face-to-face assessment is required, or they can make a paper-based decision. So if you put on your information that you cannot have a face-to-face assessment for whatever reason, they have to acknowledge that. So you may be offered a home assessment, so they will come to your home if your anxiety is too high to leave the house, or they may make the decision just based off the evidence that you've sent in. The HB then, if you have the assessment, the HCP then will send their report back to the DWP to make the final decision. So you will then receive a letter from the DWP with their decision. So they could award you then at that point. If you happen to receive 0 points, which happens a lot of the time, then you have to go for a mandatory reconsideration. So you phone at the PIP and you request the full report. So once you have that full report, you can see what the assessor has said and why they made their decision, and then you counteract that with a mandatory reconsideration. The DWP dispute team will then look again at your paperwork. They may phone you, they may phone your GP or anybody else that's involved in your support to just clarify a few of the points. Then sometimes they will make that decision and award you the points based on that evidence. If they come back and say, no, we still stand by our decision, then you appeal to tribunal. You appeal to the courts to have it read by an independent panel. So that is a judge, a GP and a disability person. And they will look at your work. They are completely independent from the DWP, and luckily, well, in all of our cases, we've had the award given. So
one important thing is, when you do go and have your appeal heard, you will be spoken to. Anybody else that comes with you, they will not be able to speak until the end. So, and that's quite
it's tough.
That's quite a surprise to some people, because obviously you bring a friend or a professional along with you to be an ally and a support, but unfortunately the judge will not listen to them until the very end, and they'll have about 3 to 5 minutes
not even that really,
just to summarise.
Yeah. So the timeline of the process, so 1 month, you have 1 month to return your paperwork from the date they send it to you, the original paperwork. You request an extension. If you're having difficulty filling out the form and you need to find somebody to help you do that, you can ring PIP and ask them for an extension. They give you a 1 month extension. So the questions on the PIP form, so you've got 15 questions on the PIP form. I've given you a brief overview of the first two. So the professionals you see, so you need to make a list of all the professionals, GPs, specialists, OTs, social workers, support workers, physiotherapists, psychotherapists, anybody that you see for anything, any support in your life. You need to put them down into the form so that they can refer and give evidence for you. Question 2 is your health condition and disability. So list everything that you find difficult. Absolutely everything. Anxiety, depression, OCD, your autism, anything. You put it down. And then we have the rest of the questions. So yes, they are. Question 3 is preparing food. 4, eating and drinking. 5, managing treatments. Number 6, washing and bathing. Number 7, managing toilet needs. 8, dressing and undressing. Number 9, communicating. 10, reading. 11, mixing with others. Making decisions about money. Going out. Moving around. And any other additional information.
Some really important things to write is that a lot of the times, from our experiences, we found that the people we've worked with can do certain things, very capable. However, they need to be prompted, so we need to use those specific words. Jack needs to be prompted to wash his clothes. Jack might wash his clothes every single day of the week and twice on Sunday, but he does that because mum and dad are telling him to. If mum and dad aren't telling him, then you need to say these words. Jack is prompted to wash his hands. Jack is prompted to eat his dinner. Jack is prompted to do whatever. As parents and people who support autistic adults, we quite often do more, okay? And because we live in that environment, we just kind of
take it for granted,
and we don't realise how we over-support. So we need to really strip things back, okay? And sometimes it can be quite brutal, the realisation and some of the things that we have to write. You look at that form and you think, this isn't my son, this isn't my daughter, this isn't me, okay? And for some people it is quite an emotional ordeal, isn't it? Okay.
For people who have difficulty in processing information, to do this process is really anxiety inducing. When I see people to fill out their PIP paperwork, it can take up to 4 hours because of the questions I need to ask to get the information to put down in certain ways. So like Gareth said, it's about using the right terminology, the prompting, consistently requires support. And it's those key words that will tick their boxes, tick their criteria for each section. So the additional information you need: any current medication people are taking, any visual aids that you use in the house. So if you've got prompts anywhere in the house that say, you know, they need to remember to do this, how to wash their hands, how to put the kettle on, anything, any visual aids they may use, you need to put them in. A diary, a weekly diary, to give them a glimpse of what life is like. So that they didn't eat today because they forgot, or they didn't have a wash today because they didn't have any appointments. If there's not an activity they need to do without a purpose behind it, they won't do it. So it's about making those things really clear in this diary. And these all add into the evidence, because it's really difficult sometimes to have professional evidence of people if you don't see many professionals. So it's those diaries and the visual aids that you use are really important. Make copies of everything. Like Gareth said earlier, when I first started doing this process, a number of claims went missing. They disappeared. Nobody could find the paperwork. So take copies, photocopy everything, send it recorded delivery. You need to write comments for each descriptor. So each question is called a descriptor. So you need to write something for everything, even if it's not applicable. Just trying to think of an example off the top of my head. In case somebody can travel about by themselves, they may be okay on certain routes, but they may not be if you say, okay, can you go and see so-and-so down the road on your own? And it's a place they've never been before, they would not be able to do it. So they may be able to use certain routes, but they wouldn't be able to get to somewhere they didn't know. So we need to make comments on everything. If you're not able to travel, ask for a face-to-face at home assessment. Take someone with you to the assessment all the time. You can submit additional information. So between the time that you've put your paperwork in and you're invited for an assessment, if anything else comes up or anything else happens, you can give that information in on the day of the assessment as well. You can record your assessment. It's very, very difficult because they have to use their own equipment. So it's like an old, really old double-deck tape recorder. As long as you can give them a copy at your assessment of the recording, you can use your own equipment. But there is a list of equipment that they allow. So, but there is information online about that. Oh, please come and speak to me upstairs afterwards if you need any more information. Didn't know that was there.
You do know.
I do now. So,
do you have any questions? We can take a couple of questions before we Sinclair's Law come on. More than happy to do that today. Or if you'd like, I know it's a personal thing, so if you'd like to talk to Suzanne upstairs, what stand number are we? Number 1? Right in front of the door?
Yeah, so upstairs as you walk in, we're right there, so my table's on the end, so please.
Question. Yes, ladies.
This question isn't directly about what you do here, but do you know, is there anything being done, any campaigning going on to deal with how they are approaching people with autism?
Yes. We're working with the DWP. Yeah. It happens across the board for everybody.
And it's now on the enhanced rate at birth.
Yes.
I know.
You know,
It's gobsmacked. It's amazing. We're working with the DWP Dispute Centre. They've been into the office to take some footage of some of the clients I've worked with, because their experiences were so horrific. They wanted to know what they were getting wrong. So they were very honest and very open, and they filmed it. And they're going to use that now to film Capita staff.
To train Capita staff.
To train Capita staff, film Capita staff, on how to deal with autism. They are also looking at making awards lifelong awards, because the anxiety involved in these processes once you've had your claim, it can take up to 2 years for this process to happen. So then you've got another year before you've got to start it all over again. So with the last 5 I've done have all had 5-year awards, and they're looking to make it 10-year or lifelong awards as well. I've got a contact recently, yesterday, that I'll be working with as well from Merthyr, on making the paperwork more accessible for people and training the assessors in the dispute centre to understand autism better.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you read the reports, they think it's clear, they don't.
No.
No, you're right.
No.
Thank you for your question. The lady next to you.
Can just the appointee go without the
I think they would more likely do a phone tribunal, so you can do it on Skype or phone. I'm not 100% sure about that. I can look into that though for you. I know the appointee can go, but I'm not sure if they can go without the person being there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the number I've been in where I've tried to step in and say something because I know the person's about to go into meltdown, and they've said, sorry, you can't answer for them. And it's not until the person says, I cannot speak to you anymore, I can't process anything, I want Suzanne to speak for me, that's when I can step in and say.
I wondered if it made a difference if you were there registered as appointee.
Yeah, I can check that for you.
Any other questions, guys? Okay, thank you very much for your time.
But please come and see me
Yes.
upstairs if you need to chat.